Casey the Beef Cregan, and nobody. No Zach Locks Parker tonight. Couldn't make the show. That's okay. We got his picks, and
All the better.
We're going to give them to you whether he approves of it or not. Hey, Beef, we were talking in the pre-show, and I said we already had a comment from our friend, I like to say, Jeffrey Edwards. You were explaining to me who he is to you. Sounds like a really great guy. Thanks for joining us, Jeffrey.
Yeah, he's fantastic. His whole family, it's just kids are wonderful. His wife's wonderful. His in-laws are wonderful. It's just a tremendous family. I'm so excited that in some sort of way we're still trying to figure this out, how they're related, But I know my dad is cousins with his wife, but I don't know how we are. But it doesn't matter because they're just great people, and I think of them as family. So they're just awesome.
Cool. Good to know.
And I don't see them enough.
And it's really great to have you, Jeffrey. Thanks for joining in with what we hope is fun. 30, 35 minutes. We don't have Locks here, so there's only going to be two of us bantering back and forth about college football. Beef, week 5, takeaways. It's after that big week 4. I know there were some games. There was Notre Dame and Duke, which turned out to be pretty good, and Clemson and Syracuse, which turned out to be, decent. I'd say better than Clemson and Charleston Southern. And but it just, Alabama, LSU and Mississippi, if you like that kind of football game, which I didn't because I bet on LSU. But kind of a letdown a little bit from the previous week. Where's your takeaways from week 5?
Yeah, I think so too. I think we probably put a little bit too much hype and with us like Texas, Kansas, maybe. I think I probably put a little bit of hype and thought that maybe Mississippi State, Alabama was going to be good. Auburn and Georgia was surprisingly good too, and I think Georgia escaped. And a couple of the teams that on paper you would believe that they were going to run away and hide from their opponents didn't. That being one of them, and the other one being Notre Dame, as you mentioned before, Notre Dame and Duke. Not that Duke's bad, but just listening to all the Notre Dame people hyping up their squad, you thought they were just going to win by 100 because they're Notre Dame. But that was a really good game, and quite honestly, I think Duke kind of blew it. But it was a good week. It was a fun week of football, but it was just not as like star-studded of games, I guess.
It's always funner when Clemson starts out with a 11 a.m. my time and noon your time win. That makes the day, you can kind of enjoy the rest of the day, right? You're not worried about the 2:30 game like this week or the nighttime game and some other week if Clemson ever makes it back to a night game again in Death Valley. But the noon losses are a bummer, but the noon wins make the day go by a lot better, and I want to say a lot faster, but not necessarily faster, just a lot better. Let's talk about Clemson-Syracuse for a few minutes, Beef. Kate Klubnik, a couple of weeks ago on this same very channel's airwaves, I was saying, well, he's not the guy I saw in high school. But I'll say this, 2 weeks later, he's trending in that direction. He's throwing, or at least he did last week. He threw deep. He hit his receivers in the hands, on the numbers, wherever you want to hit them. He looked really good. Still a little concerned about the running game outside of Phil Maffa's garbage time touchdown. But Tyler Brown and your favorite receiver, Troy Stellato, look pretty darn good. How about you?
Don't forget Bo. Don't forget Bo. He had a nice run where he was quoted as saying, "I just kept running." I mean, it felt like Forrest Gump because once the coverage was blown, he just kept running. I mean, I really liked the game. It kind of went out of hand early. I know it was 14-7 after the first quarter, 21-7 at halftime, but it didn't feel. And this hasn't happened this year. Even Charleston Southern, where it felt like it was okay. Where it felt like Clemson was going to be okay. The defense kind of let that first drive, or it wasn't the first drive. I think it was second or third drive of Syracuse, kind of let them down the field, long drive, 75 yards. But after that, they dialed it in, and Syracuse got a garbage touchdown late. But I felt really good, and I know the offensive line. We were probably inundated with things like Syracuse's defensive line was small and it could be pushed around. Those kids played hard though. they really did play hard, and maybe they were outmanned size-wise, but, little guys always have to figure out a way to beat the big guys, and they were getting pressure on Cade. I thought Cade was great. Um, his numbers don't necessarily match up to being quote unquote great, but I just thought he was so poised in the pocket. I think he threw for like 263, which we would have we would have been lauding DJ for hours if he threw for
No
260.
interceptions.
But he held onto the ball. He had 2 touchdowns. That pass to Stellato was awesome at the first touchdown that they had. Just the way that he stayed in the pocket for as long as he could, and then once pressure came, rolled out, beat a tackle, and then threw it across the middle, and Stellato came out of the sky. It was awesome. Really, I think you said it before, and I'm just taking a lot more words than you did to say it, but it was just a
What you
fun
do?
watch. It was just a fun watch.
Yeah.
It really was, and I happened to be with my parents, so I was, like, watching it for a little bit, and we ended up getting back to the hotel about right when the second half started. I had it on my phone. I had Don Munson on the airwaves and my boy Reggie. Um, and it was a fun listen, but it was way more fun to watch. And funny little side story, real quick, is we were getting ready to walk around Charleston with my parents, and I was like, "You guys ready?" And my mom looked at me. She goes, "We're gonna watch the second half here." And I was like, "Oh, I like where your head's at, ma." So I've trained them. I've trained them well.
Took you 45 years, but you trained him well. Hey, I agree with you and Sylvester that even when it was 14-7 and that tight end looked like Rob Gronkowski against us, just running through people and over people, whatever, I didn't feel threatened because the offense, knock on some kind of faux wood, looked competent. Still a little iffy in the red zone there, right? I mean, they still struggle a little bit, and I don't know whether it's play calling or what. But once they get in like the 10, they have a hard time getting in the end zone. So the answer to that is to do the Bo Collins 47-yard touchdown pass is the answer to that. But it was improvement. So what can we say? I did want to say, if you go back, because you said you listened some in the first half and didn't really listen. If you go back and listen to the Stellato touchdown call by Dave Pash, now I know he's a Syracuse graduate, but nobody has ever sounded more disinterested in a Clemson touchdown other than Todd Ellis. Yeah, Club Big Rose right, he throws it. Touchdown by Troy Stellato. But nobody has said he's a good announcer and he's not biased. I'm not saying that. He was criticizing Babers for kicking that field goal at the end of the first half, which he was right on. And but it was just funny. It was just I've never heard a touchdown called so disinterested in a touchdown being scored than that one. So a lot of fun. Well, I know you're the look ahead guy, Beef. Looking ahead to Wake Forest, what do you know about these Demon Deacons?
I know they're 3-1, and they have beaten nobody this year outside of Vanderbilt. I think Vanderbilt was their best win. They've beaten Elon, Old Dominion, Vanderbilt, and they lost to Georgia Tech. So this team's 3-1. They have decent statistics. I did watch a little bit of the Georgia Tech game just because I thought that Wake Forest was actually going to win that one. Mitch Griffiths is the new quarterback there. He's been there. I think he's a redshirt sophomore. He's been there for a little while. And, he's taken the reins. They're still running that mesh offense to a degree with Warren Ruggiero, who's their offensive coordinator. He's been with head coach Dave Clawson for a long time. I think the defense is still hungry. I do think the defense on Wake Forest is actually really pretty good. They have the Mustafa kid that kind of plays that nickel back, and he's a ball-seeking missile or a heat-seeking missile or whatever that phrase is. I mean, he's actually very good for them. They run a 4-2-5, so they're going to probably try to take away the pass. Although I'm not X's and O's guy, it's just based on basic numbers there and basic math. That's what I would feel. But that nickel and that rover kind of play that Isaiah Simmons role. I'm not worried about this one, and that's weird for me to say because I worry about a lot of them. But Mitch Griffiths has 9 touchdowns. He's thrown for 999 yards, 9 touchdowns, and 6 interceptions. They are -2 in the turnover margin, which,
Oh,
Clemson, surprisingly, even though we talked about how the 5 turnovers all year have been the dagger in the season, Clemson's +2 in the turnover margin. How that happens, I don't know. I'm not sure. But Wake's -2. That he does throw picks, but he's got some great wide. I wouldn't say great. He's got some really good wide receivers, and he's got 2 running backs that are decent. The backup actually has more yards rushing. What's his name? Damon Claiborne has more yards rushing by 100 almost than their starter, Justice Ellison, who's been there for a little while as well.
well, this is a comforting thought. Sylvester's thought is comforting. If their special teams is as bad as ours, though, the
Their
Clemson
punter's
punting
not
game,
good.
the punting game for Clemson and the kickoff game has looked pretty strong. The field goals, we got an investment banker kicking field goals.
Yeah, their punter, Ivan Mora, he's been there for a while too. He's averaging 34.6 yards a punt.
Ooh.
I guarantee he blasts a 55 or 60 yarder this weekend. That's just because that's what it was funny. Don Munson said that on Saturday, and Syracuse's kicker or punter was way better than Mora is. But he said, "Oh, and that's a 61-yard punt because of course it is." And I thought that was the most perfect call that he's had ever.
Down at the 2-inch line, probably also. We need that. We need that part of it to be totally Clemson.
Yeah.
And
It
I
could be a
agree.
37-yarder, but it's at the 2. Yeah.
I agree with Jeffrey here, and you and I both have picks on this game of a different variety. But this is part of the reason that I went the way I went, and we'll get to that in just a minute or two. Yes, Chancey, take online classes. We might need your leg next year. Doesn't matter which one. I think either one of them will do.
Well, I was a soccer player in high school, and I played a lot of soccer, and my parents didn't allow me to kick because the football coach came and asked my dad if I could come kick for the team. So I was been thinking about it this year too, and then I got off the couch a minute ago to come over here to the microphone, and everything popped, and I was like, you know what? I'm gonna be all right playing slow pitch softball the rest of my life.
You pulled everything. You
Pulled everything. Everything hurts.
pulled it all. Yeah, like I said, we both got picks on this game. We'll get to that in a couple minutes. But before we do that, briefly, we want to look at the poll results from Week 5. Now, the key to this poll, as I've said often, is to put something Clemson related in there, and you were sure to win. I put something Clemson related in there, but went nuts and lost. Zach actually won. Zach's not here this week; couldn't make the show. We were waiting for him with bated breath in the comments, but not so far. Clemson wins by 3 scores. Nailed it. Duke beats Notre Dame. Almost nailed it, Beef. And Klubnik throws for 400. Not even close, Marty. So we still going to do this, even though Zach's not here this week. Zach told us he believes Georgia crushes Kentucky. And now, it may not seem like a bold prediction for Week 6, but Georgia hasn't really crushed anybody this year. So his prediction is Georgia finally wakes up, crushes Kentucky, undefeated Kentucky now, who beat Florida last week. And I asked him for a specific, can I say that right? Specific number because Georgia waking up and beating Kentucky doesn't sound very bold, but he said 24 points. Georgia by 24, I would mark that down and bet the house on it. If you don't own a house, still bet the house. My bold prediction, I'm going with something Clemson related. I'm going to defer to you, Beef, because it doesn't make any sense what I was going to say because Clemson by more than 14, by more than 4. I'm Clemson. What am I talking about? Texas is going to crush Oklahoma by 14 or more points on Saturday. Now, I was a little surprised when I saw this number jump out at only 5.5 to Texas. Then it went down. Now I saw it's gone back up to 6.5. I don't know. I haven't seen 2 plays of Oklahoma this year, but I've seen their schedule, and I think they're getting a lot of hype over nothing. So Texas by 14 plus over Oklahoma. This is one of my non-favorite. Gosh, I can't even speak tonight. This is one of my favorite non-Clemson games of the year. I live in Central Texas. Obviously a lot of Texas fans, but also a lot of Oklahoma fans. And it's just always a crazy and wild game. Last year was 49-0. Texas, not too crazy and wild. I mean, yeah, I guess a little bit, but not in the normal sense of crazy and wild. I don't think it's going to be 49-0. I wouldn't be surprised if it's 42-13 or something like that. I think Texas blows out Oklahoma, and we'll get that in my picks coming up. What's your bold prediction for the upcoming weekend?
Well, before I do that, Oklahoma with ESPN FPI is 54.6% chance of winning. So that's a little crazy too. But my bold prediction this week is actually, good night, buddy. I love you, pal. My bold prediction this week is 0-5 Virginia will get a victory this week. They will win. I was trying. William and Mary, 4-1 William and Mary. So it is bold, but they still are William and Mary. So 0-5 Virginia. Tony Elliott will get his first victory of the season against William and Mary.
Well, they're only playing two people, and one of them's a girl. So
that's right.
Bill and Mary, as we used to call them.
It's 2023, Marty.
Everybody can play college football in 2023. That's hilarious, Beef. I love it. Okay, let's look back at week 5 and see how the guys did. Back to our brand, week 5 results. Beefy, your first losing week of the season. Maryland pulled through for you. You and I went head-to-head in the Florida fiasco, and I somehow pulled that out, and Utah did not win for you. I took Kentucky, as I just said. My time zone challenged Hawaii team pulled through for me by losing by, I think, 120 to UNLV. And LSU, wonder if you or I could be a better defensive coordinator for LSU, because holy moly, Batman. Locks lost 2 games. Started out Friday night. I thought Locks was going to get on a roll on Friday night, and when it was, what was it at halftime, like 7-0?
It was brutal.
He had over 55. He already put the X up there and texted it to us at halftime. That was something else. And what else? Texas steamrolled Kansas, which leads me into Texas. Sylvester, a couple of comments back, said that he hopes Oklahoma wins. I mean, look, I got the booty call T-shirt on and everything. I hope Oklahoma wins, but I don't think Oklahoma's going to win. You got any thoughts on that game, Beef?
No, but I'm with you though. That's usually a nooner, right, or 11 o'clock your time. It's usually the early game, right when the fair opens up there in the state.
Yes, sir.
And it's always electric. Last year was a huge disappointment, as you said, that 49-0. Just because, as you said again, it's crazy. There's always something, or high scoring, or I don't know, something happens. A backup quarterback comes in and changes the game, or a coming out party for a Bijan Robinson, or or Xavier Worthy, or somebody. So I'm looking forward to that one. It lines up perfect for Clemson fans. If you enjoy the Red River rivalry, you can see it at noon, and then on the East Coast, and then Clemson at 3:30. So, I enjoy it, and we'll see. Right? You said it. We'll see. Texas. Another podcast that I do, the guy that runs it says that Texas is going to win out the rest of the season and make it to the playoff, and he thinks Quinn Ewers is going to win the Heisman. So right now he's looking like a genius.
A message board genius. Here's the updated standings. Beef still in front. I would expect people a $555.56 bet tonight from Beef, who had the perfect 13,000 going till he screwed up and won his last game of the evening. I'm in second place, 1,735 and 88 behind. Locks pulling up the rear, but he has a plan this week to get back in the game. Of course, I also had a plan to get back in the game, and so we'll see how that works out with Locks' pick. All right, we did the We did that, and here we go. So, with that being said, it's the favorite time. It's why all 5 people are watching. I don't think you could have done any worse if you tried.
Well, I take that as a victory.
These guys are doing research, so why should I? Beef, you stink the most.
A true believer in what they're doing in North Carolina. That's why I'm picking Virginia Tech, Tennessee.
I love Spencer Rattler.
I agree with Marty.
I don't like this.
Look, you smell it, the backdoor cover.
Still love it.
Huh?
I still love that.
I know. I was running. That was early on, and I jammed it all together and cut it up, and that was probably the best production. Parker the other day told me, he said, "Dad, I'm learning how to edit YouTube videos, and I'm putting up some videos." And I thought, wow, what a career in 2023. But he also applied to college today, so I'm feeling a little bit older. But anyway, he was telling me that, and it made me think of that. That's when I had all this time, and I edited it up, and and it's lasted 128 shows. So
Yeah,
I've changed the intro, changed the outro, but it's still funny.
Yep.
It's still funny taking the cutouts. Okay, first pick goes to Zach Locks Parker. He's not with us today, but he went. Let's see, what I want to do first. Let's start at the smaller picks. He took Virginia Tech plus 23.5. Now, I have told Zach, bet against the bad teams, and I guess in a way he is, but he's taken the point spread here. Virginia Tech plus 23.5, 200 sluggo bucks for locks. All right. Hopefully he would be here and explain himself when he loses next week. We'll have him back on next week. He can explain it then. My first pick of the day, I'm going to go to that 11 o'clock game here in Central Texas, but the game's being played in North Texas. Of course, as Casey said, at the Texas State Fair in Dallas. My favorite non-Clemson game of the year, regular season, I believe I can say that. 49-0 last year. I got this at Texas minus 5.5. I don't think they're going to win by 49, but as I said, my bold prediction, at least 14. I'll go with the locks. 3 scores. That could be 17, 21, or anything above that. I'm going to go Texas minus 5.5 over Oklahoma for 330 sluggo bucks. Beef.
All right. I'll go to my first game, which is the Clemson's last opponent, the Syracuse Orange, who traveled to North Carolina. I think this is actually going to be a really good game. I still don't trust North Carolina's defense. It's going to be a battle of the offenses. If you look at the stats and stats alone, which obviously doesn't tell the whole story, because North Carolina probably, arguably, has had a better schedule so far, but Syracuse has the same. Schrader has the same amount of touchdowns and yards, almost identical to Drake May. Has the running back LaQuint Allen has the same amount of rushing yards and touchdowns as North Carolina's running back. And the wide receiver, the top wide receivers, has the exact same yardage and the exact same touchdowns. I think this is going to be a better game than people think. I got it at Syracuse plus 8. I just think it's a one-score game either way, and 8 covers that for me. I don't know who's going to win. Probably North Carolina, but I do think it's going to be closer than people think. I think Syracuse is significantly better than App State, understanding the in-state rivalry. Anyway, long-winded. Syracuse plus 8 for 330 sluggo bucks. I'm taking the Marty approach this week.
330 sluggo bucks because it's minus 110. We want to come out with a nice fat 300 buck profit. Zach Locks Parker's second pick. He's taking another side here. He is taking Maryland plus 20. Zach's going with the underdogs this week. Now, Maryland's not a bad team. I don't know if they're going to stand up to Ohio State. Maryland plus 20 for Zach. 400 sluggo bucks. He is on his own there. He's not going with the Marty approach. So that's probably good for him. My second pick, I'm going to go with Wake Forest and Clemson game. Casey and I were looking at this. It was 20-point spread. I was looking at it because I really wanted to take Clemson. I hadn't taken Clemson all year. I feel like, as I said, Klubnik's coming on. They're playing at home. Then I started thinking it's Wake Forest. It's the week before Clemson plays Miami. It's in the middle of the afternoon. 20 points is a lot for a team that turns the ball over like Clemson does. And I know, Casey, you said that Clemson is now positive in the turnover margin, but there's some inexplicable things happening, people dropping balls, weird things going on. I just can't. They could be Wake Forest by 20, but I can't bet on it. I can see a 34-13 game and Wake Forest getting a garbage time touchdown, or something crazy like Wake Forest kicking a field goal so they cover something. 20 points is a lot for this Clemson team, the way they're turning the ball over. So I'm going to go Wake Forest plus 20. 306 Sluggo Bucks. I got it minus 102. That'd be locking in hopefully a $300 profit and a win. Your second pick.
Let's stay there. I think quite the opposite. I think Clemson's hitting on all cylinders. I think last week's turnover was just a really well played play by the defender on Jake Brenningstool for the fumble. Now catastrophic fumbles and interception, not really interceptions, but one pick six, right, has happened. I just think they're starting to clean it up. I really do. And call me a sunshine pumper all you want. I think Clemson rolls in this, and I think it's more of a 34-3 variety. And that's why I felt comfortable taking Clemson minus 20 for 510 Sluggo Bucks.
510 Sluggo Bucks at minus 120.
Oh, that wasn't the right math.
Would you like it to be?
No, that's fine. Leave it how it is.
Okay. 600 would return you. I can't do math off the top of my head anymore either. Okay, we'll go to Locke's third pick. Now, that means Beef and I are going head-to-head, just like we did last week. Locke's third pick is North Carolina-Syracuse game. I guess I should have done these in order because Casey picked a side. He took Syracuse plus 8. Locke's is going with UNC on the money line. So, actually, both of you could win this game. It is minus 345. Which I should have plugged it into my trusty dusty calculator. And if I do that, it tells me that's 77.53% odds, implied odds there for North Carolina to win the game. Locks bet 300, Locks went all in on this, 2,500 Sluggo Bucks for Locks. I did do the math. That's why I had that up. That would net him $724.64 worth of Sluggo Bucks. So all in on the money line. This is the Marty approach. Probably a smart move with the 8-point line, I would say, if you're gonna do it that way. Because I don't trust North Carolina either. That's why I took them money line a couple of weeks ago. So Locks is in for 2,500 minus 345 money line for North Carolina. My third and final pick. Now, I know what this is going to look like, but I told you guys on the text, right as Locks was texting me his dollar amounts when he going to be on the show, I was finalizing in the spreadsheet what I was going to put on my third pick. And you'll have to trust me on this one, but this is the number I came up with. And you're going to think I'm nuts. My third pick is a money line. It is Notre Dame over Louisville. This was 7, I believe, when I looked at it. So I didn't want to do the old 7 and get the push, right? So I said, well, let me do the money line. I cannot picture for the life of me Sam Hartman losing to Louisville. Then I found out they have some injuries. Notre Dame has some injuries. And they're playing Southern Cal next week. So there's a look ahead potential there. So I thought, I'm not going to do 7. I still can't picture them losing this game. Maybe they win it by field goal, but Notre Dame's going to win this game. I don't know by how much. So I am going money line. I got it at 260. Are you ready, Beef? 5,200 Sluggo Bucks on Notre Dame to just beat Louisville on the road the week before Southern Cal. That would be 2,000. I see the wheels spinning.
They were. You saw the smoke coming out of my ears. Thankfully, I have these ear pods in so that they told
me 2,000. And the reason that is a little more than I was thinking about before I came on today, but I thought about this today. It's a little more, but 2-1. I've been 2-1 every week, and that's not going to get me very far the way you're going. My original plan was to slow play you and just let you blow up, right?
Oh, that's coming. That's coming.
Eventually, that was my original plan, but guess what? I got impatient like I always do, which is why I haven't won this dang contest since we started. But 5,200 to return 2,000. We'll see how it goes. Rock and roll. What's your third pick, Beef?
My third and final pick. Nobody goes into Camp Randall Stadium in Madison, Wisconsin, and comes out with a victory. And that's probably actually true this week as well. However, this number, Rutgers, dancing with the girl I brought out there, Rutgers minus is plus 13. Plus 13 at Wisconsin. And again, I've watched Rutgers. I have not watched Wisconsin, so this is a blind pick and a skewed pick and probably a biased pick. But just looking at the numbers, Rutgers can't score with anybody. They're terrible offensively, 346 yards a game. Wisconsin's almost 100 yards more than them. However, Rutgers' defense is only allowed 267.8 a week, and Wisconsin's given up almost 400 yards of total offense to their opponent. I just think this is going to be close. I really am starting to believe a little bit, not that they're any good, but that Rutgers could probably get a win like this, or a Michigan State, or an Iowa, or one of those teams that just runs the football, and they do have a stout defensive line. Their linebackers are good. I don't know about their DBs, so we'll see. I know that Wisconsin has Braylon Allen, who's all-world, but he has less yards offensively than Kyle Monangai. And if you've never heard of Kyle Monangai, he should be on U2 Schmoes, because he actually transferred from Seton Hall Prep to Don Bosco so he could get better exposure. So I don't like him. He left us, but he's got about 200 yards more than Braylon Allen. And I just like Rutgers here. And I think that plus 13 was too much to pass up. So Rutgers plus 13, and I'm going 330 Sluggo Bucks. So I didn't have any of my crazy picks this week. I did not math as well as I should have for the Clemson game, but the 330, and the 510. They do, Jeff. They do definitely get pushed around in that game, especially those lines at Wisconsin are going to be stout, and Rutgers is always seemingly small. It just looks like they're small. They don't have a Massaquoi or whoever the receivers that they used to have. They don't have that guy anymore, and Monangai's small too.
Speaking of Monangai, I think I had some of that on my foot a couple of months ago.
You did a little tetracycline. We'll take it right out.
And I think it's Dennis. Wake Forest hasn't taken over my soul. The 20-point spread and the propensity for Clemson to throw the ball up in the air has taken over my soul. I can just see Wake Forest grinding out like a Texas A&M drive at the end, right? Remember, it was 24-3, and there's 10 minutes to go, and Jimbo decided to go on a 9-minute, 40-second drive.
With that mesh, that was the Sam Hartman. He couldn't beat Clemson, but man, oh man, they held the ball for about 3.5 hours in the first quarter.
No doubt. Let's do a quick recap here, Beef. Locks has got UNC money line minus 345 for 2,500 Sluggo Bucks. He took Virginia Tech plus 23.5, minus 104 for 200 Sluggo Bucks. Not very confident there. And took Maryland plus 20, minus 105 for 400 Sluggo Bucks. So he is 3,100 Sluggo Bucks in play this week. And Marty takes Texas minus 5.5 for 330 Sluggo Bucks. That's minus 110. Wake Forest plus 20, minus 102 for 306 Sluggo Bucks. Notre Dame money line minus 260. 5,200 Sluggo Bucks. So I'm going to be pushing up on Beef or pushing down on Zach at the end of this week. It's looking like.
Or pushing up daisies.
Yes, that was last year. That happened to me last year. It could happen this year, but I'm very impatient. Casey the Beef Cregan, excuse me. First place, Casey the Beef Cregan has been there since the season started, which is even a bigger miracle. Has Clemson minus 20 over Wake Forest. That's minus 120 for 510 Sluggo Bucks. He wasn't great on the math there, but he's picking these games right. Rutgers plus 13, minus 110, 330 Sluggo Bucks at Wisconsin. Got to have them Jersey boys in there. And Syracuse plus 8, minus 110, 330 Sluggo Bucks. And that is it. who they play? North Carolina, of course. That's who Zach picked. Beef, it was fun. We miss old Locks. We need Locks in here just when we have, we want to make fun of him without smart kids. And we miss Locks. Hope he'll be back next week. But this was a good time. Thanks for everybody in the comments. Sylvester, Dennis, Jeffrey, appreciate all three of you. John Chansey, appreciate you. Oh, by the way, John Chansey, rubbingtherock.com. Check out his stuff. I check it out every morning. I post some of it on the Southern User Facebook group, as I did this morning. Appreciate you, Chansey. Beef, tell the people thank you. Let's get out of here.
Yeah, just to echo that too. I can't speak either tonight, Marty. John Chansey does it all, and he's fantastic. So, and thanks to everyone that commented tonight. Again, to echo Marty, we really love the interaction, so we appreciate it. We try to get it and try to acknowledge each and every one of them. So thank you for doing that. Thanks to everyone in the Seldom Used Reserve College Football Discussion Facebook group. Uncle John McGee, as always, Sluggo Podcast, and each and every one of you who likes, listens, and shares and participates. On behalf of Marty, Seldom Used Reserve Coleman, and the guy who didn't show up to work tonight, Zach Locks Parker, I'm Casey the Beef Cregan. Thanks so much for joining us. We'll see you next week right here on Sluggo.
Appreciate the comments, fellas.
I think we're done here.